Hi, it's John. Welcome to Cycling on a Shoestring. Just a quick video right now. I thought maybe we could talk a little bit about derailleurs because you may have seen my last video. I went out and bought this Recumbent bicycle. It's almost 20 years old. It's got some older parts on it, and I went riding on this the other day. Works great, but it's got a broken front derailleur. This is a Tiagra 4403 derailleur, and the problem with this derailleur, and that I've read online from a lot of people, there's a little tab that holds the spring in place on it, and a design flaw on it. It breaks off, then the spring doesn't work, and this one doesn't work. So what I've done on this, a triple chainring on the front, which is also Tiagra. What I've done is I've locked it into the middle chainring so I can ride the bike right now. But I want this to be able to work. Probably going to use the granny gear on this more than the big chain ring on it. I'll probably ride this for the most part, unless I'm going on a real steep downhill in the middle, and use the granny gear for going uphill because recumbents can be rather slow on uphill. So this one went uphill pretty good when I went out on it the other day. Lots of things to know about when it comes to derailleurs. And it's funny, I've been in bikes for years. I've bought derailleurs in the past, but generally it's just swapping out a 105 to go to a Tegra or something like that. Pretty easy to do when you're using a compact crankset with a 5034 on the front. Just buy the version above and you're ready to go. Now this is from an old group set, this Tiagra, a 9-speed group set from many years ago. And the unusual thing about this is there's a number of things to know about when it comes to derailleurs. First of all, this is a 52 chain ring. So this isn't a compact crankset on here. So you need a derailleur that can do up to 52 teeth. Other things you need to know about is tooth capacity, all right? So the tooth capacity on any derailleur, if you're using a triple or you're using a double, is the difference between the top chain ring and the small chain ring. So the tooth capacity on this one is 22 because this is a 52 and this is a 30. Hard to find derailleurs with a 22 tooth capacity, something I've learned over the last couple of days because I've been looking for a replacement for this, and generally it's very old stuff, at least, 15 years old to 20 years old for Shimano. A lot of it's overseas, and I'm not wanting to get into $80, $90 to replace this. I really don't want to. I find a lot of stuff over in England and around the world, but unusual, I can't find anything here in Canada, and I've been looking quite a bit over the last couple of days. So what am I going to do here? And it's funny what comes to you in the dead of night, and I'm laying in bed thinking, how could I do something different so I have more options when it comes to this derailleur, because it cannot be fixed. I'm thinking, I have a couple of old cranksets downstairs. I wonder if they'll work. So let me just show you what I've got here. I immediately thought of this one. This is the old crankset I had on my Trek road bike. I think it's an R500. I'm just going off the top of my head here. Compact crankset, so 5034 on here. And I'm thinking, will this chain ring work on there? Maybe, but it's silver. Not that it's a huge issue to me if I put a silver one on here for the top chain ring, but I also thought I have this old set here. It's a Sora. It's black. Again, this is a triple set, and this is a 50 on the top here. Maybe it'll fit on here. Now, when it comes to chain rings and to cranksets, you have to be concerned with bolt circle diameter, okay? And that's basically the spacing of these bolts here. It has to be the correct degree in order to put this onto here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a try. I think it'll work. I think the bolt circle diameter is correct on these two. If you look at it, it looks similar. I'm going to take this one off here and put it on here, so I go from a 52 to a 50, and then I'll have more options when it comes to this, because that will change that tooth capacity on here. I might be able to buy something even new, almost brand new, and I really don't care if it's a high-end front derailleur on here, if it's a Tiagra, Sora. It doesn't matter to me as long as it will work. So I'll let you know what happens here. I'm going to put this on here, and I'll just take a couple of seconds. I'm going to transition right now, and we'll see if it worked. Well, there you go. I have switched out this Tiagra 52 for this Sora 50, and it fits perfectly. Everything worked out just fine. All the bolts went on. They came off nicely, which I was surprised because they've probably been locked onto this one for 20 years or so and have never been removed. They've all been greased up and replaced. But now instead of having a 52 on here, I've got a 50. Tooth capacity is now 20 instead of 22. And I can find a lot more derailleurs that are good for a 50 chain ring as opposed to a 52. And that teeth capacity has been lowered a bit. So I'm going to go online and see if I can find a derailleur, and then I can get this thing up and running perfectly. As long as it works, somewhat, I'm happy. I think it'll work just fine with a 50 down to a 30 on here with a 42 in the middle. I think I'm going to have lots of gears on there. But there's something to be learned from this. And it's something that I've done over the years. I have got so many old parts and bolts and pieces from old bikes locked away in my house. I've kept pretty much everything that's ever come off a bike that was still worth keeping. And I put it away just in case I need it. And of course, I wasn't going to throw away any crank sets because those crank sets were still pretty good. And I figured I may use them in the future. Didn't think it'd be something like this, but keep that old stuff you've got. Even if the bikes are really old, sometimes those parts can come back and really help you out. And you know what's nice about doing this project? If you're new to bikes, maybe you haven't been working on bikes that have square taper bolts on bottom brackets, stuff like this. But pulling out those old tools and pulling off with square taper was really kind of cool, kind of nostalgic in a way. Anyway, I've got some more project videos or product videos coming up very soon, and I always appreciate you watching Cycling on a Shoestring. Now, I'm just shy of 500 subscribers, so get to 500, then we're working our way to 1,000. So hit the subscribe button if you can, okay? And click on the little bell to get notifications, and thank you so much for watching Cycling on a Shoestring.